laps here for the first ever race at Balaton Park as part of the Grand Prix paddock.
Yeah, and Casadei was on pole position yesterday, but more significantly, I feel, he was 0.6 of a second faster than everybody in yesterday afternoon's practice session. So I do think Casadei has the pace to go and maybe escape at the front if he can get a good start.
You can see the wind is picking up. El, down to you for a last word and, of course, a prediction.
Yeah, you mentioned the wind. I was going to mention that as well. It's not as strong as yesterday, but it is blowing directly into turn one. We know that turn one is very tight, so watch out for that at the start. And, of course, the fast right-handers, they're blowing in towards that as well. So watch out for that. Something to look out for in this race. Prediction? Oh, I'm going to go Tibor. Why not?
Oh, I tell you what, I wouldn't normally join up with you for a prediction, but I will this time. I'm part of the Tibor Erik Varga prediction police here up here in comms. Neil, are you going to make it a hat-trick?
Yes, of course I am. I'm going to make it 3 from 3. Tibor Erik Varga all the way.
That's 3 pints of Varga, please, when you're ready then. As we get ready to go for MotoE Race 1, just less than 1 minute to go now as the grid clears, and we will be underway with this one. But Mattia Casadei, I said he has previous experience. World Supersport, of course, have already been here with the World Superbike paddock.
I feel that is something that has stood him in good stead this weekend. 1 or 2 other names in the championship fight that haven't been able to call upon previous experience at this track. The likes of Hector Garza done in 11th. And yeah, you're going to have to keep your eyes posted for row 4, Garza and Zanoni coming from there. Also, row 5, Andrea Mantovani, championship leader, launching from row 5.
Yeah, Andrea Mantovani, championship leader by 8 points, has had a nightmare so far in round 4. Okay, we are getting ready then. Balaton Park. Let's see what you've got for us as the red lights will come on, and when they go out, we go green in MotoE, and it is a good start from the middle of that front row by Lorenzo Baldassari, who is side by side with Mattia Casadei. But look at Erik Tibor Erik Varga. Varga is going to lead. He's got the first hole shot here in Hungary. He misses the apex by a mile, but it doesn't matter. He's already made the headlines up through turns 1 and 2. It's so tight and tricky, but they're all safely through. Now turn 3, and it's a long turn 4 before the back straight. Lorenzo Baldassari, good start from him. Second place for Eric Renardo. Third for Tibor Erik Varga, who is already looking like he wants a scrap. And Mattia Casadei, your pole sitter, down to 4th. Up the inside, down in towards turn 2, and the crowd are whistling, and they've got a reason to. Tibor Erik Varga has made up another place, and I think he holds it. Coming through turn 6, the Hungarian home hero is up into 2nd.
Yeah, you have to imagine his aggression off the line. Oh, and someone has gone down in the background. You can see yellow flags in sector 2.
That's going to be a big one through turn 7 and 8. We saw a couple of them down in the MotoGP qualifying session. Paul Espargaro was one of them, and the other one was Pedro Acosta, and now Jordi Torres joins the turn 7 and 8 club, and that would have been a big one. There's a lot of momentum on these MotoE machines, Neil.
Yep, absolutely. Looks as though he has gone down with Luca Bernardi, so let's hope that that pair that has crashed out are okay, because that was a fast one, if it was indeed at turn number 7.
It looked like it was to me. It sounded pretty fast as well. So Jordi Torres is definitely out of it, and so is Luca Bernardi, and that's such a shame.
Oh, someone else!
Who is that? Someone else has gone down. Oh, that's Tibor Erik Varga, I think, who has gone down. We are going to have a bit of a red flag situation coming here. That didn't look very pretty at all. It was Tibor Erik Varga, because the sole remaining 29 of Nicola Spinelli is the other Riva Colt Snipers team, so that would look like quite a big one coming out of turn 14. Across the line then, 1 lap done. Lorenzo Baldassari ahead of Matteo Ferrari, and Mattia Casadei was another one who went down there with Tibor Erik Varga, so that was quite a big dramatic opening lap, Neil, here at the Balaton Park circuit.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Let's hope that everyone is okay. That looked like a big one for the home hero, Tibor Erik Varga. He was trying to make up ground on Lorenzo Baldassari, who was escaping at the front to the tune of half a second through sector 3 when Varga had a crash. And it looks as though Mattia Casadei has maybe been caught up in that incident as well. We didn't see what happened, and we do have a red flag. A red flag is shown after a pretty chaotic first lap here at the Balaton Park circuit. And yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed that everyone is okay.
That had to happen, because Tibor Erik Varga didn't look in a fantastic way, bouncing through the gravel there on the exit of turn 14, and with a bike tumbling through as well. I'm not too surprised about the red flag, but also turns 7 and 8. They are fast places to crash around here, and as I said, the MotoE bikes, they do have quite a bit of weight and momentum, and one of those flying through the gravel is going to need a little bit of attention. There's a special procedure here for the bikes in MotoE if they do crash and get a bit damaged to be recovered. You can see on the top of that graphic, red flag incident at turn 14. That is the specific reason for this red flag. We haven't been told that Mattia Casadei has actually crashed on the left-hand side timing tower. It came up in a little block on the right-hand side of shot, but Mattia Casadei is right at the back. He's down in 15th place. I think he's just flashed through the shot as well, so he is back up on his wheels.
Yeah, I think that Casadei must have run off track and taken some avoiding action as we come up into the final chicane. I'm guessing that Tibor Erik Varga had a high side coming out of turn 13 onto turn 14, that long left that leads round to the final chicane. And well, the trackside marshals are giving him the best possible attention that he could receive at this current time. And let's just hope that he's okay. We heard it in our headsets. We heard that horrible sound of his rear tire stepping out. And yeah, let's just hope that the home hero, who started so aggressively and really showed a willingness to get stuck in on that first lap, is going to be okay.
It doesn't make it any easier, of course, for Tibor Erik Varga. Hopefully he's all right, but he had a brilliant start to that one. I really hope that he is all right indeed. Turn 1, he was already stealing the headlines, and to grab the whole shot in the first ever race here at Balaton Park. Now that is a fantastic notification. Medical director, all riders conscious, so Tibor Erik Varga, a big accident for him, and I'm fairly sure that he will not be making any restart here, and of course will be subject to confirmation for race 2 later. But all riders conscious is the best possible news after all of that, particularly Tibor Erik Varga, who, you know, home hero, pushing on at home, and has obviously just had an incident coming through turn 14. Now this is our first look at it. This is 14 here. Varga is the, oh, he lost it coming out. That's a big high side, and I just wonder if Mattia Casadei, oh dear me, Mattia Casadei has to go gravel tracking through there, and I think just about avoided Tibor Erik Varga, who was spinning into the gravel. Maybe perhaps Varga being caught up by the bike there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Casadei clipped the Hungarian rider there. That was an ugly fall, and obviously that is one of the scariest things that can happen when you crash at the front of a big group of riders on the first lap. But great to hear that Tibor Erik Varga is at least conscious and currently receiving medical attention. So the race was red flagged before 3 laps were completed, which means we're going to have a new race with the quick start procedure, as you can see on our screens, and we will have a new race distance over the shortened 4 laps. So what was already a bit of a sprint is going to become a bit of an all-out brawl, I think.
It is going to be a real fisticuffs, isn't it, here in MotoE race 1. 3 laps not completed. That's why we get the shortened distance there, as you correctly say, Neil, and that's going to make the start even more important. It's less time to come through the field, particularly if you're the likes of the number 9, Andrea Mantovani, back on the 5th row of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. Less time for a whole host of big hitters to make their way through the grid, and just further confirmation of that news that we will have a new race over 4 laps. Still unsure as to when that will get underway, but any news that we get, we will relay it on to you at the first chance. So I guess it was, I mean, it was a bit of a crazy, chaotic start, wasn't it? It wasn't a brilliant getaway from the pole sitter Mattia Casadei just there, but Lorenzo Baldassarri absolutely nailed his start and managed to get Varga on the cutback through turn number 1, and then he had his head down and was absolutely away.
He was indeed, and I think the thing for Baldassarri is he got it absolutely, we're going to have a look at it here, he got it absolutely nailed, straight line, no lift at all, and Baldassarri just absolutely letting the brakes off. You can see the 47 of Tibor Erik Varga. He's got himself in some clear air. He's a bit on the extreme inside, that's why he runs wide, but he does grab the whole shot, and you can see, look at Eric Granado, how close he is to tagging, if he didn't tag, Lorenzo Baldassarri there through the first turn. You see how tight it is, and there's only a short boost of power up towards turn 2, then it's all back on the anchors again. But very well done to all of the MotoE guys and girls out there to get through cleanly at least the first couple of corners. This is on board with our championship leader Andrea Mantovani.
Yeah, Mantovani starting from way deep in the field, 15th position, and you can see just how tight it is there into turn number 1. Then on the cut back into turn 2, he's trying to take a wider line. One of the 658 bikes is lucky not to have serious contact with another rider just up ahead, and then we're down into turn 4. Mantovani already making some decent moves at this early stage, and then we're on our way down into turn number 5, and then this is where we saw our first incident of the first lap. We are hopeful also that Luca Bernardi and Jordi Torres are okay after their crash, which I think happened down at turn 7, which is on the first of the 2 fast right-handers.
And these are all the MotoE machines coming back through. Of course, Hector Garzo, one of the riders that will probably not be enjoying a shortened race distance over the course of 4 laps. However, at the front of the field, of course, you have Mattia Castellet, who will be able to kind of go from that pole position and have another stab at the whole shot. You can see up at the top of your screen, race direction, all riders eligible for the restart as less than 3 laps had been completed. Well, that is fairly obvious. It all depends on the conditions of the bikes. Let's just go down to Elliot York. El, what have you got for us?
Yeah, I'm just stood with the LCR E team and Mattia Castellet. Some damage on the left-hand side of the bike, especially on the front mudguard as well. They actually struggled to get the tyre warmers back on. They've just been playing around with that on the front end, and they've had to replace the left-hand side foot peg as well. But other than that, it doesn't look like there's too much damage. Mainly issue is with that front end. Castellet obviously quite upset and annoyed when he came back into the box, and yeah, everything's cooled down now. A little bit of damage on that front end, but it looks like Castellet shouldn't have too many issues if and when we get restarted. I've spoke to officials, no time confirmed yet. I'm sure you've got the same info in the box, gents. So as soon as I hear more info, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, thanks very much for that update, Elliot. And I guess the biggest challenge for Mattia Castellet after an incident like that is just to try and get his head back into the game, because there's no doubt you're a human being. You're going to be shaken up a little bit by that. But how close you came to a rider that crashed just in front of you. Obviously, you managed to do well to save the bike running through the gravel, but seeing a crash up close like that and then having to take avoiding action just afterwards, that is going to make you a little wary, I think, going into the restart. So understandable, I think, if Mattia Castellet was a little shaken coming back into the box, and now it's going to be a big challenge for him to get his head back into the game for this restart. And
it was a very, very big one by the looks of it for Tibor Erik Varga. I suppose I suggest that he went, he had a high side and went out over the top before obviously Mattia Castellet had to take avoiding action, because Varga was seemed clear enough of anyone coming behind. But we'll obviously wait and not speculate too much more on Tibor Erik Varga. We have had the notification that all riders involved in the incidents across the course of lap 1 are conscious, and that is the best possible news. Of course, any riders that need further examinations or treatment will be taken to hospital as part of a routine procedure. But at the moment, we are just in a pause here. The crowd are watching on in anticipation for the restart here of MotoE Race 1. We have had confirmation it'll be over 4 laps, but we don't know exactly when. Good to see Jordi Torres has made it back to the pitch. You can see Nico Tirol on the right-hand side of shot. So MotoE's Jordi Torres is back, but of course, if he has crashed down at turn 7 and 8, Neil, there will be no bike that is usable for him. So it's a big rebuild job, probably, for the Power Electronics Aspar MotoE squad. Yeah, absolutely. We do have, we can see that Tibor Erik Varga will be taken to hospital for further examination. That has just come in from the medical director, and not really surprising considering the images that we've seen. So yeah, as we've stated before, let's just hope and cross our fingers that the Hungarian, the home hero, is okay after such an ugly crash. And yeah, the fact that he won't be taking part in this restart, that is pretty low down on the priority order as it stands. It is, but also Tibor Erik Varga, of course, he will be in the best possible hands. And this is, as I said, a routine procedure. Any riders that do need further examination or checking up, they are put to the right place, and thankfully here in Balaton Park it's been quite a quick turnaround from the moment of the crash to where Tibor Erik Varga will be going next. Down to pit lane. El, who have you got for us?
Yeah, I'm just stood next to Jordi. Jordi, good to see you're okay. We didn't quite see the crash on screen. Just talk to us what happened on the opening lap.
I do the turn 6 and I enter to the 7. This corner you enter with a full throttle. lost completely the front tire. It's impossible to avoid because you can manage nothing, only the angle, but you need to be very aggressive on the change direction, and I lose the front. Same like Bernardi. Bernardi was maybe 3 meters ahead of me, and we do the same movement together. We lost the front tire, the change direction. Something happens this year. It's difficult to manage, but we'll see what happens in race 2.
Has it been a problem throughout the season with the front tyre, and do you know what caused it? Was it cold tyre, or was it just something that came out of the blue sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it's for a compound. Maybe it's difficult to put temperature to the rubber. But yes, in this track we don't have too many problems because the asphalt is new, and you know it's also hot. But you never know.
How are you feeling after the crash? All okay and hopefully ready for race 2?
100%. I'm still okay, and I'm pushing the race 2 to improve our result. That is not difficult.
Good to hear, Jordi, and good to see you back in pit lane. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Elliot, and thanks to Jordi Torres. Great to hear that the Spaniard is okay. Interesting to hear also what happened. Quite a few MotoE riders have been talking about how difficult it is with the Michelin front tyre this year, how kind of on a knife edge they feel sometimes when they're in heavy braking zones, and there with the quick change of direction it seemed as though that was undoing from going from left to right, turn 6 into turn 7, and it sounds as though they were quite fortunate in that they didn't actually collect each other. They had their own separate incidents, and both fell foul to that kind of front tyre being on the knife edge.
Yeah, both of those incidents will be investigated. I'm sure if there was any issue with that front tyre, but it is something that they've spoke about right the way throughout the course of this 2025 season. I can tell you pit lane will open at 12:13 local time. That seems off to me because we're at 12:24 local time. I wonder if that's 12:30 or if it's a 12:24 local time. As you can see though, the incident site at turn 14 has been cleared. That sounds better. Pit lane opens at 12:30 local time. 4 laps will be the schedule for that, so we will be a little bit behind going into Moto3, but for Moto3 qualifying a little bit later on, you can join Lewis Sotheby and Neil alongside me for that one. But MotoE will get underway again at 12:30, and they will hope that hopefully this time the first lap is all clean and above board and there's no such dramas like we've just seen.
Yeah, and it will be a reduced field because I'm assuming that Luca Bernardi will not be taking part either because it was a fast crash for him down at turn 7. It means we're going to be missing 3 riders in the restart, and you can hear a round of applause coming from the grandstands. I think that's as the fans see the ambulance taking Tibor Eric Varga to the local hospital. And obviously it was a narrow escape for Mattia Casadei, the pole sitter in that incident at turn 14. We're going to pass down to Elliot, who's in pit lane with his team manager Lucio Cecchinello to see how he is for the restart.
Yeah, certainly I'm Lucio. What did Mattia say when he came back to pit lane? Looked like a big crash for Tibor, and Mattia got caught up in it as well.
Yeah, he said that basically it wasn't his fault, and he's quite annoyed with Varga, but this is part of racing. We went in the gravel very high speed, fortunately didn't crash. So now we are looking forward to see with this very sprint 4 laps race.
What was the damage? I saw you guys, or the mechanics, changing the front mudguard and the foot lever as well. Was there anything else going on with the Ducati that needs repairing?
We had the left foot rest and the plate and pedal broken. We had the front fender bracket bended, but we fixed it. So everything was ready here, and I'm quite pleased because also we were lucky because it could be much worse.
And just in front of us is Eric Househeathen ahead of the race. He's looked really strong, considering, of course, the injury troubles he's had this year. He's been in really good form.
It was a really good form. All the winter tests and everything was perfect. Unfortunately, in Le Mans, you know, he had a crash, and then he has been hit by another bike. He broke his tibia and fibula. Now he's still under recovery process, but we are quite pleased because finally, you know, he's back in the speed and he's back in the game. He did also podium in the last race in Austria, in race 1, the MotoE, and then now we hope to finally put both rider in the podium, but the competitiveness of the other rider are quite strong.
Thank you for your time, Lucio. Good luck for race 1 and 2, and enjoy the MotoE sprint that we've got coming up.
Absolutely, thank you.
Cheers, guys, both to Lucio and El, and good to hear that we have Eric Renardo back to some kind of form. Of course, he was the lead LCRE team machine up there on that opening start to this MotoE race. So Eric Renardo, he will definitely be fancying his chances as well.
Yeah, he definitely will. He got away to a decent start as well, was in that kind of fight for a second before the red flags came out. And I guess Lorenzo Baldassarri will be thinking, I have to do it all over again, because he nailed that first lap absolutely to perfection, got his braking just right down into turn number 1, and then was able to avoid some of the chaos behind him, and built up a really decent advantage by the time they came round to finish that first lap. So Baldassarri, I'm sure, will be a little bit frustrated that he has to do it all again, but at least safe in the knowledge that he's done it once. If he's done it once, he can do it again for sure.
Casadei will be looking to repeat what Lorenzo Baldassarri was able to do. It wasn't the best start for Mattia Casadei. It's not a long run down to turn 1, but it's long enough that if you're not on an ideal track position, you can be pushed out.
Yeah. Some of the MotoGP riders were saying yesterday, if you miss your braking marker by even 2 meters, then it's going to have fairly serious consequences for what you can do in that chicane. You're going to miss the first apex, and then you're going to make a complete mess of the chicane and lose 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. We saw that countlessly in some of the sessions that we've had so far this weekend. And just I think riding within your limits and just making sure that everything's nice and clean is actually going to be probably the best way to approach the racing here this weekend.
And of course, if you get to the front, then you can control it a little bit as well. And in that way, defence can be the best form of attack, because you're suckering people in, and they're the ones that make the mistake. You are within your limits now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have quite a few straights here, but most of them are just about short enough to not really offer the riders behind the chance to get in your slipstream and make a real play on the brakes. And if they do make a play, then it has to be a bit of a lunge. So it's set up for what is going to be a pretty epic and breathless 4 laps, I feel, here, Kiko. Obviously, you can see the pit lane is open and it will close in 50 seconds. It looks as though everyone will be making it out in time.
Indeed, this is on board with Andrea Mantovani as he goes down towards turn 1. So what we'll have here is they'll be met by one mechanic on the grid for this quick start procedure, and then they'll clear, and then we will be going green pretty soon. We're talking in about 3 minutes probably, by the 3 or 4 minutes by the time they come round to complete this formation lap. And this is Mattia Casadei coming through turn 4. Now he will be wanting to make a better start, but he can't afford to drop down to 4th again here in race 1 for MotoE.
Yeah, prior to the first race start, I did mention that he was head and shoulders above everybody else yesterday in practice. He was about 6/10 clear of the second fastest rider, which gave you an indication as to Casadei's strength. So if he can nail the start, I'm fairly confident that he can maybe open up a bit of a buffer to some of the riders behind.
The other thing here, Neil, is that there's going to be some gaps on the grid as well. Now that's going to give people some space, but it can also mean that the riders do get a bit carried away down in towards turn 1, and we've already negotiated it cleanly once, turn 1 and turn 2 really. So to do it again, I think we'll be doing very, very well, because it is tight down there.
Yeah, it really is. You can see some of these chicanes here, they really are quite slow and tight. And come around to the end of this sighting lap. This is going to act as a bit of a warm-up lap to MotoE riders, which they normally don't have.
Coming through 15 and 16. The tricky thing is with this as well is that they've only really done one flying lap, racing lap. This is not a track they're accustomed to going absolutely hell for leather at, with bikes all around them. Qualifying's one thing, but races are so often the other. Of course, there's not too much noise here in the MotoE grid, but it's still, you've got to get familiar with your surroundings, and a new track, that could be difficult when someone's blocking you or trying to pass you up the inside. Mattia Casadei is on pole position then. That's just before we do go down, before we do get underway with this, you've seen the grid before. We have no Luca Bernardi, Tibor Eric Varga or Jordi Torres. So, El, I'll throw it back down to you. A new prediction, please.
Yeah, unfortunately, a new prediction. We wish Tibor well, of course. I'm going to go for Eric Granado. Lucio Cecchinello picked him up just then in the interview, and I think he's due a win, so I'm going to go for Eric.
Okay, Neil, I'll pass over to your expertise.
Lorenzo Baldassarri, after what I saw just before the red flag, he looks pretty good.
I am going to go Casadei to convert pole, but we'll have to wait and see. MotoE, red lights on, the race one restart is underway. It's a better start from Casadei. He's got the drop on Lorenzo Baldassarri this time. Does Baldassarri fancy it on the brakes? He thinks about it, but thinks better of it. Up into P4, that's one of the Aruba machines, and it is, of course, Zacconi, because he's the only one remaining here in this one, but it is Casadei who leads. Coming through Matteo Ferrari. Well, that was a bit ruthless. Coming up the inside, I think that was on Jacopo Hosjuk, so a very, very good start indeed from Hosjuk, but coming down all the way towards the turn 5, heavy braking. It is Casadei from Baldassarri. Granado's got it crossed up, but just about gets it stopped. Oh, that's tight. That was Hector Garzo trying to come through on Hosjuk, but couldn't. 6, 7 and 8 is just as quick as that.
Yeah, and let's hope that everyone can get through these two fast right-handers at turn 7 and turn 8. Unlike the last time, it looks as though everyone has managed to do so. Kevin Znoni has jumped up into 9th position after qualifying 12th, so he's made up 3 positions. Garzo, you can see, is a little bit wide down there into turn number 9, but it is Casadei already gapping Lorenzo Baldassarri to the tune of 0.3 of a second out at the front.
Very good stuff indeed from Mattia Casadei, but will he be able to hold it all together for the entirety of this race? It is only 4 laps, but stringing 4 laps together has been a challenge here at Balaton Park because it's so difficult to get in any kind of rhythm. This is Andrea Mantovani down the order, 11th place as he comes through turn 14. He's made up a few positions by virtue of 3 riders not taking the restart. So Andrea Mantovani in a world of trouble downfield. There's a bit of trouble down at turn 15 and 16. That was Zacconi who was trying to come through on Ferrari and managed to successfully do that. Spinelli is 6th. Then it's Hosjuk, Garzo and Kevin Zanoni in 9th place. Gutierrez rounding out to your top 10. But Casadei leads, Baldassarri 2nd, and Eric Granado, your front row as it is and as it was.
Yeah, you can see Zacconi making a bit of a mess of turn 15 in hot, and then that really cost him through turn 16 as well. That allowed Ferrari to close up a little bit on him just behind. It's been a good first lap from Matteo Ferrari, who's managed to gain 1 position off the grid, jumped from 7th up into 5th, and he is closing onto the back of his compatriot up ahead, but there's already a decent gap to the front 3, and as you can see, 0.6 of a second separate first and second.
Yeah, but it is close for 2nd and 3rd, as you can see, with Granado there trying to come through on Lorenzo Baldassarri. 1, 2 and 3 as quick as that. But a big battle here. Zacconi is 4th, but then it is Ferrari, and Spinelli is being shuffled along here by Jacopo Hosjuk. This is the best we've seen of the Romanian rider in 2025 thus far.
He had his best qualifying yesterday in 9th, and he's having his best race performance, I feel, so far in this one, even though it is just 2 laps in. Remember, a 4-lap sprint, the shortened race distance, which means there are only 3 laps to go, even if we're only on lap number 2. But already Casadei is making this look as though this race is his.
This is Hosjuk trying to come by Spinelli, but can't quite get it done. 0.6 of a second is the gap out front for Casadei. I don't know, they come through the penultimate chicane, this one is, as they come through 14 now, and then it's down towards turn 15, 16 and 17, that final complex. Casadei got a rear wheel twitching around there. He'll be careful not to make the same mistake he's made twice already this year, Neil. That's been crashing out the lead. He's safely through so far, but Lorenzo Baldassarri has always come good at the end of races, so he's halfway through this one. Only 2 laps remaining, a shortened MotoE race 1.
Yeah, the fastest rider on track is actually Eric Granado, who is about 0.2 of a second faster than Casadei up ahead, so it's not quite an escape act from Casadei up at the front as we see some movement back in the pack.
Hosjuk up into 6th, that would be a career best by... Oh, no, it won't be because he's dropped it just as I speak. Commentators curse. Jacopo Hosjuk has checked out at turn 2, and that is a real shame. He'll have another chance to do it later on in race 2, but race 1 ends in a gravel for the Romanian.
Desperate disappointment on the cusp of a best ever result in the MotoE category. Was moving forward as well was Hosjuk. towards that fight with Matteo Ferrari. Alessandro Zacconi just up ahead, but he realised when he went to his bike that there's no point getting it back up and running. He's out of this one.
He is indeed, and that gap up at the front is half a second. Baldassarri is slowly but surely working his way onto the rear wheel here at Casadei.
Yeah, it was 0.5 of a second across the line. It's down to 0.3 of a second through split number 2. You can see it visibly on your screens as they come around this tight hairpin at turn number 11. And Baldassarri is closing in on his fellow Italian up ahead.
Yeah, this is going to be one for the final lap grandstands to be applauding. Track limits warning coming up there for Baldassarri, but you won't be worried about that just yet. He can't be doing it too many more times. But Lorenzo Baldassarri is building all the way here. Granado is third and was your fastest of the front three last time around, and he's very good in this last sector. Eric Granado looks like he's being held up a little bit by Baldassarri there, but they come through turn 17 for the penultimate time, and when they cross the line, it is last lap time here, MotoE in race 1.
I have to say, this is looking more like a race than I was expecting. This time 1 lap ago, as we see the fastest lap coming in from Zacconi in 4th position. So they're all bunching up together at the front of this field.
Casadei leads them through 1 and 2. He's got to be so careful not to blow this one. Matteo Casadei, he's lost 50 points from race-winning positions in 2025. He doesn't want to be 75 points down on what he could have had. But look at Lorenzo Baldassarri. He's tall, and those long levers are working wonders through the first sector. He's got a little bit of slipstream all the way down this back straight into turn 5. It's easy to outbrake yourself, but Lorenzo Baldassarri is looking comfortable in P2. He's looking at P1 through the S's.
Yeah, absolutely. And Baldassarri has the pressure of Eric Granado hot on his heels as well. You can see the Brazilian maybe just struggling through this sector to stay with the rider ahead, but Granado very much is in the hunt as well. 2nd, 3rd and 4th were all faster than Matteo Casadei last time around, Kiko.
Casadei's going to have big problems here. Baldassarri's so good on the corner entry into the chicanes. This is turn 11, the long left-handed hairpin where the long lap penalty is should anyone do anything a bit silly out there. But at the moment, Casadei's holding on, and Lorenzo Baldassarri's running out of opportunities.
It really is. As we said, there's not so many opportunities to pass on this tight Balaton Park circuit. As you can see them coming around turn number 14 and then up towards this final chicane. Maybe this is an opportunity on the final lap if he's close enough, but he's certainly not close enough this time around.
Oh, he really let the brakes off, didn't he, into 15, 16 here. There's no opportunity really at 17. Matteo Casadei is going to return to winning ways here. A red flag race 1 goes the way of the number 40. Matteo Casadei is back on top. Baldassarri with a podium in his career best. MotoE finishing 2nd, and Eric Granado returns to the rostrum in 3rd. Zacconi 4th, and your double winner from Austria, Matteo Ferrari, finishes in 5th.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Casadei. He did just what was necessary to win that race, with Baldassarri 0.3 of a second faster than him on the final lap. But you feel that Casadei was just managing it, and he brings home his 2nd victory of 2025. A really timely one after a bit of a disaster in Austria.
And Andrea Mantovani can only salvage 10th place, so that is a massive 19-point swing in the favour of Casadei. He's going to have to do some more of that later on, but at the moment he can just be happy with a 19-point advantage in race 1 over Andrea Mantovani. This is Lorenzo Baldassarri, career best P2, as we said. Very strong stuff indeed from the number 7, looking to do it again later, if not improved by a place.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Baldassarri, the best we've seen of him so far this year in MotoE. He has had 1 podium previously, that was back in race 2 at Assen, but we haven't quite seen him fighting for victory, and he very much did that in that encounter. He really did give Matteo Casadei a bit of a hard time on that final lap, but Casadei, you feel, was maybe just managing things on that final circuit. Baldassarri, though, certainly made a race of it.
He did indeed, and I think 1 more lap and he'd have definitely had a go of it, Neil. And the exciting thing is we've got 8 laps hopefully later on. We'll see if Lorenzo Baldassarri is able to mount a challenge for his first MotoE win. Another podium though for Eric Granado. He's still not at full fitness, but that'll do pretty well.
Yeah, racking up a decent little run of podiums, or at least he would have done if he hadn't crashed out in the final lap in race 2 in Austria last weekend. But 3rd in race 1 in Austria 1 week ago, and now 3rd in race 1 here in Hungary as well. Eric Granado, his speed is certainly without question. We've always been saying this, going all the way back to 2019 when MotoE first came into existence. But that consistency still somewhat lacking for the Brazilian.
It is indeed. The thing is as well, further back, Jordi Torres' absence from this race means that he now falls behind Mattia Casadei, your winner here from race 1, and likewise Matteo Ferrari, another point scoring finish on the board for him. That's 5 in a row, but still his only podium for his double win last time out, but still consistent. So Matteo Ferrari hopefully trying to get in amongst that podium fight later on today. Oh, look at this. Alessandro Zacconi has been demoted 1 position due to exceeding track limits on the last lap. I thought Matteo Ferrari had come across the line in 5th, and I've just seen him go up to 4th in our timing tower up here in Com. So 4th it is for Matteo Ferrari. He didn't even have to work for that pass.
Easiest 4th place he's ever earned. Yeah, so Zacconi showing just the perils of touching the green, the paint on the outside of the white line on that final lap, but because Ferrari was so close behind him, he is forced to drop 1 position. So a bit of a signal there for Zacconi, and that will be pretty crucial for his championship charge, because, well, he is still very much in the midst of the championship fight, but he is now 3 points back of Mantovani rather than just being 1 point back.
It's amazing that Andrea Mantovani is still leading this championship after this one here. We are down there in the LCR Honda, the LCR MotoE team camp, I should say, getting carried away. Eric Granado there, just explaining to Lucio Cecchinello how the race went. You can see the new schedule for Moto3. Qualifying 1 will be coming up at 10 to 1. That's in 7 minutes time. 13:15 for qualifying 2. We will be coming off the air very, very soon here from MotoE Race 1. But MotoE Race 2 kicks off at 4 o'clock, and you can join yourself and Neil for that one. But Park Ferme, P1 for Casadei, 2nd for Balda, and 3rd for Eric Granado.
Yeah, Casadei is now close to within a whisker of the championship lead. We have Kiko 5 points separating the top 4 in the MotoE World Championship as it stands. Mantovani, Casadei, Zacconi and Baldassarri all really within a proper fighting chance of taking this year's crown. Matteo Ferrari, 78 points. He is, what, 16 back off the summit? Not exactly a million miles away, with still half the season to play.
I think we've definitely got a big group of 5 up there, haven't we? Jordi Torres has been there in the opening couple of rounds, but has not really capitalised on it last time out at the Red Bull Ring, and of course crashed out earlier on. And Hector Garzo only coming through for 7th, so the Balaton Park circuit not one of Garzo's favourites.
Yeah, that much was clear yesterday when he qualified down in 11th, and obviously because of the red flag and the stoppage, we're running just a little bit behind schedule, so therefore we're not going to have any interviews in Park Ferme as normal, and these riders will be taken up straight directly to the podium ceremony. So we will hopefully get a chance to speak to the top 3 after race 2.
Race results: Mattia Casadei, Lorenzo Baldassarri and Eric Granado, your top 3, ahead of Matteo Ferrari, Alessandro Zacconi and Nicolas Spinelli. 5 Italians up in the top 6. Eric Granado, the only rider who is in the is able to get ahead of all of the Italians. As you can see, coming through for the rider standings, Andrea Mantovani, he leads a pack of Italians. It's 5 in the top 5, but he's hanging on by the skin of his teeth. 3 points the difference. Mantovani and Casadei. Zacconi also tied on that 91. Our best wishes to Timo Eric Varga, who of course dropped a place in the championship standings because Eric Granado moves up, but we hope that the Hungarian home hero is none the worse after his incident earlier on today, which brought out the race 1 red flag. Dynavolt's Intact GP lead the way by 11 points over the LCR E team, 152 points versus 141. The Paraelectronics Aspar team completing the top 3. But that is all. MotoE Race 1 in the end a little bit delayed, and we are away with this one. Casadei is your winner. Myself, Kiko Giles and Neil Morrison taking you through the coverage later on. And for Race 2, Luis Soderedo jumping in the hot seat for Moto3 qualifying.